A lot of people planning retirement travel get stuck on one question, even if they don't realise that's what they're wrestling with. Should we travel more on a strict budget or spend big to travel in comfort and style? Most people think these are the only two options. You can either count every dollar and push through on a tight daily budget, or travel fancy, spending big for comfort and convenience. But there's a third way. And now that you're planning not just a single holiday, but years of travel, it's often the option that makes the most sense. Let's call it value travel. We're Dean and Pauline, sharing what we learn as we travel towards our next stop, retirement. I'm not here to tell you how to travel or saying one style's right and another's wrong. Budget travel works for plenty of people, but it comes with trade-offs that don't always notice until they're living them. Luxury travel's obviously wonderful, but it costs more than it gives back. What I want to answer today is a question many of us will be asking at some stage. When it comes to retirement travel, which approach actually gives you the best experience for the money, time and energy you spend? Because these styles don't just cost different amounts, they change how your days feel and how memorable your experiences become. To explain that, it helps to picture the same destination through three different lenses. Imagine three couples visiting the same city. The budget travellers book the cheapest accommodation they can find without much consideration for the location, as long as it fits the daily spend target perfectly. They cook most meals or only eat the cheapest street food, plan carefully, but have to skip a few experiences because they're just too expensive. They see the city, but always with one eye on the budget. Budget travel can teach you discipline, but also teach you exactly how much discomfort you're apparently willing to tolerate. The luxury travellers stay at 5-star hotels right in the centre, beautiful room, fancy restaurant and rooftop bar, everything's easy and top class. But they end up spending a surprising amount of time inside that hotel because it's comfortable and familiar. They eat very well, often in restaurants that could really be anywhere in the world, and the city itself becomes more of a backdrop than the main character. I can't recall a single time coming home from a trip and telling people that the highlight was the quality of the sheets in a fancy hotel. Now look at the value travellers. They spend a bit more on location so they can walk everywhere or easily access to cheap public transport's available, but rarely is it 5-star or even 4-star most of the time. They choose a place that's comfortable, well-reviewed and practical, not fancy, just right. They eat simple most days, but choose a few special meals that really reflect the place. They say yes to experiences that feel meaningful and skip the ones that don't. At the end of the trip, the budget travellers saved money. The luxury travellers enjoyed comfort, but the value travellers usually come home with the best memories and stories. Same city, same length of stay, very different outcomes. The difference starts with how decisions are made. When most people talk about budget travel, what they usually mean is setting a fixed daily spend, $50 a day, $100 a day, whatever the number may be. Once that number's locked in, the goal becomes sticking to it. But when that happens, cost quietly stops simply being one consideration and becomes the main one. You stop asking, is this worth doing, and start saying, well, that doesn't fit our budget. That's not the wrong option for everyone, but it changes how travel feels. You skip something you'd probably remember for years because it blows the daily spend. You stay further out of town because it's cheaper, then lose time and energy getting around. Your wallet says you're doing well. In reality, you're more tired, more rushed, and often enjoying the place less. Luxury travel flips that logic completely. You remove friction, you maximise comfort, but after a certain point, spending more just gets you a nicer pillow, not a better memory. Value travel works from a different starting point altogether. For us, value travel means spending the least amount possible to get the full experience we actually want. Not the cheapest trip, not an unnecessarily luxurious one, just the trip that makes sense for what we're trying to get out of it. We start with the experience, not the number. What do we want to see while we're there? What are the things we definitely want to do? How do we want the days to feel? Then we work backwards and ask, what's the smartest way to afford this without wasting money on things that don't really matter? That one shift changes everything. Let me give you a simple example. On one trip, we paid a bit more to stay right in the old town instead of a cheaper option further out. Sure, the accommodation cost more, but we were able to walk almost everywhere. We barely paid for any other transport. We popped back to our room during the day instead of trying to push through and getting exhausted. We spent slightly more in one place and saved money, energy and time everywhere else. That's value travel in action. One thing that really helps is treating value travel like a decision filter. Whenever we're deciding whether to spend money on something, we quietly ask ourselves 3 questions. First, will this noticeably improve our experience? Second, will it reduce stress or friction? Third, will we still be excited to remember this in 6 months or 6 years? If the answer is no to all 3, it's almost certainly not value, even if it's cheap. If the answer is yes to at least one, we'll probably find a way to make it work. That applies to accommodation, transport, tours, even how often we eat out. And yes, we absolutely splurge sometimes, but it's deliberate spending. Heli hiking the Franz Josef Glacier in New Zealand is a great example. It wasn't cheap, and we never expected that it would be. But it was incredible, and we still talk about it years later. Same with the night we spent in an 800-year-old French castle. It cost about the same as a night in a fancy Paris hotel, but for us, staying in the castle was unforgettable, whereas staying in a Paris hotel would have just been a very nice room. Value travel means you can splurge on what matters because you're not wasting money on what doesn't. And this approach becomes even more important as you approach retirement. When you're working full-time, travel's something you recover from financially. You spend the money, then you earn it back. In retirement or semi-retirement, that equation changes. You're not planning and paying for a single vacation anymore. You're managing a pool of money that'll hopefully support years of travel. If you want to travel for the next 20 years, and not blow the budget in the first 5, value travel isn't just optional, it's really essential. There's something else that changes too: energy. In your 30s, you quickly recover from a bad travel decision. An uncomfortable hotel, a long walk or stairs with heavy bags, an awkward flight connection. Annoying, sure, but manageable. In your 60s, one poor decision can wreck the next 2 or 3 days. Value travel quietly protects your energy. It reduces friction, it makes days calmer, it lets you enjoy a place instead of enduring it. One of the biggest advantages you gain in retirement is time and flexibility. Scheduling flexibility, but unfortunately not body flexibility. You can travel midweek, off-season, or stay longer so prices can drop. Advantages working travellers don't often have. Value travel lets you use that time well. So when answering the question, is budget travel or value travel better for retirement? It's a personal decision. For us, the answer's clear. Budget travel is about getting through each day under a number. Luxury travel is about maximising comfort, often at a steep cost. Value travel is about coming home feeling the trip was worth the time, money and energy you invested in it. It stretches your money without shrinking the experience. And that's what makes travel sustainable in retirement. Not one big trip, but years of good ones. I'm curious, when you do plan your trip, do you start with a strict daily budget? Do you only book the best of everything? Or do you start with an experience you want and work backwards? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I think that's enough of this. I'm off to research amazing activities for us to have in Siem Reap.